Hey everyone, my name is Derek Brown. I'm the director of the PGT programs in philosophy at University of Glasgow. That's the master's programs. We've got MSc in philosophy, MSc in philosophy conversion program, which is for students who do not have an undergraduate degree in philosophy. And then we've got 2 degrees in mind and psychology. So there's a MSc in philosophy of mind and psychology for students who have undergrads in philosophy and or psychology. And we this year are launching as well MSc in philosophy of mind and psychology conversion degree for students interested in the intersection of mind and psychology, but who don't have undergraduate degrees in either. So I'm director of all 4 of those, and we're accepting applications and students for them all. And I'm here to tell you a bit about them and answer your questions. We had also planned to have one of our student reps here. We've got a student rep for each program. And she just sent an email saying that she's not going to make it online today, but we'll arrange for consults with current students in the coming few weeks so that you can chat with them too. So a question that Roddy's put in the chat, would it be possible to get a breakdown of how the part-time philosophy conversion masters would be structured over the 2 years? Yeah, so we've got part-time degree options available for all of them. And there's a standard structure, and then we can modify that structure in some ways in accordance with the constraints of a particular student. But the standard structure is in the first year, you'll do a core course. So in the case of the conversion, the core course is called Introduction to Analytic Philosophy. And for the non-conversion degrees, the core course is called Research Methods. And you'll also do 1 option course each semester. So there's a number of option courses that you can choose from, a lot in the conversion and a few for the non-conversion. And then in the second year, you would do the remaining option course, 1 each semester. And in the summer of the second year, you would write your dissertation. That's our standard format. We've got a few students on part-time every year. And in some cases, we've adjusted that year-on-year load if someone's really busy the first year and less busy in the second year. But what I described, Roddy, is the standard. So if you have follow-ups on that, Roddy, just let me know. Joseph asks, how does the dissertation work for the philosophy masters? Are you likely to get the supervisor you would like? So right now, our current students are writing their dissertation plan. It's due on May 6th. So I won't go over the plan, but it's just an outline of what you think you want to do. And as you're writing it, you approach staff members who are potential supervisors and kind of talk to them about your rough idea, and they give you a bit of guidance. And then you fill out the assignment and submit it. Again, this year it's May 6th, and it'll be around that time next year. And the last section of that assignment is you put your top 3 supervisors within the department. And then I get all those and I mark them all. And then I give you feedback, and I take everyone's list of top 3, and I talk with our head of philosophy about who's available to do supervisions and how many people each person can take on. And then I try and fit those together as best I can. So you almost always get someone in your top 3. I can't remember last year if anyone was outside their top 3. I don't think so. But that can happen. Whether or not you get your first or your second choice really just depends on how many people have asked for that one person, for one individual, and how much that individual can take on that summer, and so on. And in terms of how long a period is and when it starts, so this year, hopefully I can mark them. If they come in May 6th, there's a number of things coming in May 6th. Hopefully I can mark them within 2 weeks, certainly within 3 weeks, and then do the matching between students and supervisors after that. So that would be late May. And then you write from that period, so late May, early June, right through to the end of August. They're due this year, I think it's August 29th, August 30th. So you have about 3 months. The one exception to all of that is if you're doing a philosophy of mind and psychology degree and you have an undergraduate degree in psychology, then you'll be doing a dissertation in psychology. And that has just a whole different cycle. If you have a background in psychology, you will have done an undergraduate dissertation of sorts or research project. So this would just be a beefed up version of that. So with the psychology, you'll have to do research design and then ethics approval and then recruit subjects and then run experiments and gather data and data analysis. So there's just a number of steps that you have to go through, and all of that just takes time. So those tend to start around October and run through the whole year slowly, step by step. But the philosophy ones are as I described, to be starting from late early June and run through to the end of August. And that's the main thing that you're expected to be doing full time through that period. Does that help, Joseph? Yep, great. And I could say more about the dissertation. It's 12 to 15,000 words. And then the dissertation plan is it's a phase. It's about 4 or 5 weeks when you're thinking about what it is that you want to do, doing some background research and consulting with potential supervisors. You don't always end up writing exactly on that, but even if you don't, it's just a good period because you spend time reading up reading little bits about a lot of different things that you think are interesting and trying to figure out where you might want to land. Amina asks, I'm interested in analytic philosophy and artificial intelligence. What would be the best option for me for master's? Thank you. Well, analytic philosophy is what we do. Another part of philosophy is continental philosophy, for example, and we don't have any expertise in continental philosophy. And all of our courses and training is geared towards analytic philosophy. So if that's your interest, then philosophically, ours is the style of philosophy that you're looking for. With regard to artificial intelligence, you might put that under philosophy of mind. I probably would. So you can study philosophy of mind courses that can have modules or components on AI in several of the degrees. So the main question would be if you've got an undergrad in analytic philosophy, and if so, then you're looking at the MSc philosophy or the MSc in mind and psychology, either of those. And if you don't have an undergrad in philosophy, then you're looking at the philosophy conversion or the MSc in philosophy of mind and psychology conversion. In terms of which would give you the most options for AI courses specifically, I mean, the mind and psychology stuff, you'll just take a lot of courses in the philosophy of mind. So statistically, there'd be a higher chance of you getting AI stuff. We don't have a course on the books right now that's solely on AI. Psychology does a social robotics course, which is an AI type topic. We've got courses in consciousness. I do stuff in perception. We've got things in virtual augmented reality, which isn't quite AI, but is connected to AI in some ways. And then, of course, when it comes, Amina, to working up your research project for your dissertation and your research papers for your courses, there's a fair bit of flexibility for you to do projects on AI. Joseph asks another question. Can you say something about the extracurricular aspects of the master's course? Are there different talks and events and things of that sort? So yes, Joseph, we've got lots. In terms of talks or research presentations, we've got a number of series. One of the ones that I manage is called the Philosophy, Psychology, and Neuroscience series, and that runs on Mondays. It's not every Monday, but roughly every second Monday throughout the year. We've got one this coming Monday, 3 to 5 p.m. The philosophy department has our weekly seminar series, Tuesdays from 3 to 5 p.m. I also co-organize online series called Illusion of the Fortnight, where we look at perceptual illusions and research that's going on in that area. So that runs every other Tuesday from 12 to 1. So it's an online kind of lunch bag thing. The talks are half an hour, and then we have a half-hour Q&A. And during the talks, many people turn off their cameras and eat lunch. Fridays is our PG seminar, so our postgraduate seminar from 3 till 5. And the non-conversion master students, so the students in the Philosophy of MSc Philosophy and in MSc Philosophy of Mind and Psychology, those students will do presentations in that seminar, one per semester. They're short presentations. They are 20 minutes. And then there's a short Q&A. So those are in November in the first semester and March in the second semester. And the rest of the year that series runs, so September, October, December, and January, February, April, May, and for the rest of the weeks, it's our PhD students who are presenting chapters from their PhD theses. So they're all required to do at least one presentation a year. On top of that, we've got an epistemology research center, Cogito, and they have a number of talks. They often are on Thursdays, but not always. But Thursday's kind of their stock day. So there's just like an endless stream of talks you can go to almost every single day. And many of the PG students do go to a lot. They meet up beforehand, they hang out afterwards and talk about the talks. They go to the pub. They go out for dinner, and I think it's just a good part of the community for postgrad students that we've got here in the department. With regard to reading parties, which was also on that question, so we generally have a PG reading party in the summer. It can be June or July, and we go away. If we have the funds, then we go out of town for a couple of days. We'll rent a bus and rent a youth hostel or some kind of hotel and go for a couple of nights and do activities like people will give papers. We have a philosophy quiz. We generally do a hike on one of the days, and in the evenings, students hang out and do their thing. They tend to have a lot of fun. Just scroll up and see if I missed any questions. Roddy, for someone coming from a non-philosophy undergrad, are there reading recommendations prior to the starting of the course? Yes. So I've got that ready to send out, and we can make that available to you. Yeah. So I mean, I can tell you in general, I would encourage you to read at least one introduction to philosophy book. There's a lot of good books out there, and I can recommend a shorter one to get you going. I can recommend something a bit longer. And then it's really valuable to just kind of look up ideas or topics that you're interested in. You'll be unsurprised to know there's an endless stock of really good, high-quality philosophy available on the internet. There's good encyclopedia sources. The Routledge Encyclopedia of Philosophy and the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy are the two main ones. And the Routledge is a good, straightforward overview. The Stanford is much more dense and technical. So the Routledge, I would say, is your first stop. And then if you want to know more, go to the Stanford Encyclopedia and you get a whole bunch more detail and references. And then Phil Papers, if you know that. Phil Papers is an online database of philosophical publications, and it's updated every day. And you can, they've now put onto it backlogs of everything that's been published in the last 100 years. So you can do searches on the Phil Papers database and search with a bunch of different parameters to kind of pinpoint what you're looking for, different years, different authors, different topics, different subtopics. It's a really useful source for us doing philosophical research. So the rough answer is you should read some introduction to philosophy, find some topics that you think are interesting, and then start digging in and reading more about those as you go. You'll find that it's endless, so you don't have to read everything, but just get a feel for what sorts of publications are out there, what sorts of debates people are having. And the more of that you can do before you arrive, the better. One of the books that I recommend to incoming students as well is Timothy Williamson's, is it called Doing Philosophy? I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it's called Doing Philosophy. So it's a short book about philosophical methodology in the analytic tradition. And I think that's really useful as well. Can you say more about the Cogito Research Center? So we've got two research centers in philosophy. One is the Cogito Epistemology Research Center, and the other is the Center for the Study of Perceptual Experience. So the perception one obviously focuses in philosophy of mind, and the Cogito Epistemology one focuses in epistemology. So they're both very active. They've got visiting researchers, postdocs, PhD students. They both run speaker series and have lots of workshops and ongoing events. With regard to postgrad opportunities, so people in both of those research centers will be teaching in the master's program. Not everyone teaches in it every year, but there will be people teaching in it every year. So that would be your main direct source. Could be teaching a specific course, or could be teaching in the core courses like the Intro to Analytic Philosophy or the research methods. And then on top of that, persons from the seminar, from the research centers will give talks, and they'll be around at talks, asking questions and just available for you to see and chat with. If there's more specific things you were asking about, Eton, regarding postgrad opportunities for students, you can let me know. Lucia is joining from Argentina. Does the program have a lot of international students? Yes, we do. In this year, for the first time, I think we have more international students than British students. I don't think we have anyone from Argentina right now, but we'd be delighted to have someone from Argentina. I've been emailing for the last couple of weeks we've got a couple students this year from the US, I think someone from Canada, and I've just been emailing with someone from Mexico who's thinking of coming, and I don't know if they will or not, but hopefully they do. And I don't think we've got anyone from Argentina, but we'd certainly welcome you. And then obviously we've got students from different parts of Europe. We generally have someone from Scandinavia and a number of students coming over from different parts of Asia. And Africa. We've got 2 students this year from Africa. And I've just sent an acceptance letter to someone else from Africa, and hopefully they'll come next year as well. I think that when I first got here, I've been at University of Glasgow for 6 years, and the master's programs were quite small, and pretty much all of the students were from Glasgow. And now their programs are much bigger, and our department is much bigger. Our department's grown by almost 50%, actually closer to 80% over the last 6 years, and corresponding with the master's programs. And part of that growth has been reflected in our international students. So the I don't know if you like the tenor or the profile of our cohorts every year has just changed dramatically. And having a lot of international students is really fun and exciting for us, and I think for the students. You get to spend time with people from all over the world. And many of them have not been to Glasgow before. Some of them haven't even been to Britain before. So it's a bit of a shell shock at the beginning, and just a lot of fun to get to know the city and the student life and the area. Joseph, does the MSc course having any teaching on logic? Yes. So the MSc conversion, its capstone course is the Introduction to Analytic Philosophy, and there's a whole module on logic for that. And there's also a formal logic option course that you can take. So we've got a couple students taking that option course this year. For the MSc in philosophy, so for the mind and psychology ones, there's no standalone course in logic that you could take. And for the research methods course, there isn't a section on logic. And there's not a course devoted to logic year on year. We've just hired someone who's an expert in logic, and they will be starting this summer. I think it's been announced, but I won't say the individual's name just in case it hasn't been announced. So we're working out what that person will be teaching next year, but that person will be teaching something, and will be around certainly to supervise and help with research projects as well. Marcus Aurelius. Oh, sorry, is Marcus Aurelius, Max asks, or other Stoic philosophers covered at all in the Mind and Psychology conversion? So the Mind and Psychology conversion, the capstone course is the Intro to Analytic Philosophy. And there's a bit of history of philosophy, but not much. It's not a history oriented course. It's a topics oriented course. So you have a boot camp at the beginning, and then you do a section on logic and a section on philosophy of language and epistemology and philosophy of mind. So it's a topics-based thing, and how much history is in each module really depends on what the specific instructor decides to put in. So a lot of the research that we do is focused on more contemporary stuff. But some people are interested in history and really like to bring history into the teaching modules. With regard to other courses, option courses that you might take Max, there's generally one option course at least per year, if not per semester, that's a history of philosophy course. But not a lot, and not a lot for ancient. I don't think we have anyone on staff who has a lot of expertise in ancient philosophy. We've got a few people with a fair bit of expertise in early modern philosophy and with early analytics, so early 20th century philosophy, but not a ton for the ancient philosophy. So it's unlikely you'd get a course specifically on that. Amina, is it hard to get scholarships for a complete MA? I was an Erasmus student at Glasgow in 2018, and I love the opportunity to attend classes with people from around the world. Great. We might be launching an Erasmus MSc in a couple of years for philosophy, and you would know how that works for funding. So there is some funds available. About half of the students have funding and half don't. But that's not this year, and it hasn't been approved yet, so I just can't say. But if it all does get approved, that would be in a couple of years. With regard to scholarships for an MA, so the university has a bit of scholarships available, and the link that's on there can give you a database of what's available. It's often best for masters to go through your home country, because a number of countries have scholarships available for their students to study abroad. But I think in general, is it easy to get a scholarship for masters? I think the correct answer there is no, it's not that easy. More demand than there is funds to go around. You're welcome, Amina. If you haven't visited Glasgow before, I could tell you that the university is located in the west end of the city, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful part of town. Where I live, it's about a 10-minute walk to the university, and as you can see from the side of my face, it's very sunny today. It's not a common thing in Glasgow, but it is quite sunny today. There's a beautiful park on the east side of the university, and a river walk that goes around the east side and the north. There's a humongous national museum just to the south of the university, and to the north and the west of the university is somewhere in the neighborhood of 100 cafes and 100 pubs and 100 restaurants. It's just a very active, kind of fun part of town to be in. So students, I think, quite love being in Glasgow and being in this area. It's nice that the university is located within the city and within an area of the city that just has a lot of nice features to it. Lucia, sorry, asks, what would you say that the topics of consciousness and language, or would you say that these are generally present in the mind and psychology? Or if it would be a suitable dissertation topic? Surely would be a suitable dissertation topic. I think most philosophers of mind have quite a bit of interest in some aspect of consciousness. I work mostly in perception, and so in perceptual consciousness, we usually use the word perceptual experience. So that's kind of what it's like for a perceiver to see things, to hear things, to taste and smell things. And perceptual consciousness is just a central part of philosophical research into perception. So most of the courses that I teach at the master level are about perceptual consciousness in one of its many forms. We've got people working in topics like pain and suffering, and their consciousness is a kind of sensory consciousness, and that's central to the work that they do. We've got someone who's doing general theories of consciousness. So naturally, consciousness is central to the stuff that he does, and I could go on. So we sometimes could have a course just about consciousness, but generally we have courses about more specific topics that people are doing research on, and consciousness will be one of the main threads throughout the course. And in terms of a dissertation topic, definitely yes. And regarding language, Lucia, so there generally is a course specifically on philosophy language for MSc students. It's not in the Mind and Psychology program, so it's not one of the ones that's available for that. It is for regular MSc. This year that was taught by my colleague Brian Pickle, who is an expert in philosophy language. We also have Gary Kemp, who does philosophy language. I'm not sure which of them is teaching that course next year. And in either case, we have philosophy language available for research papers and courses, and certainly for your dissertation. You're welcome, Lucia, or Lucia. Which is it? I need to know. It's the first guess. Which was the first guess? I can't remember. The one that sounds less Italian. So Lucia. Great. Do people have other questions or comments? I'm happy to answer about the programs or the options or the university or the city life. If you like outdoor activities, you probably know already Scotland is just one of the best countries in the world for outdoor stuff. So we do have some students. We have a master's student who is really into outdoor stuff, and he just leaves town every single weekend. We have a couple of staff members who are also like that. They leave town pretty much every weekend to go do hikes and camping and visiting coastlines and beaches. There's just a lot of stuff within a very, very short drive from here, or train ride. So there's the largest freshwater lake in Britain is Loch Lomond, and that's about a 25-minute drive from where I am right now. And then if I wanted to go to the coast on the west, I would say that's about 45-minute drive from where I am right now. And there's a bunch of different train options depending on which coastal town I want to visit. So it's really quick and accessible at any point if you like that kind of stuff. Lucia, one more question. How flexible? Let's say I was interested in taking courses outside of its structure. I guess I'd have to know more. So which program are you talking about? The Mind and Psychology program, if I can scroll up. Yeah, you were asking about the Mind and Psychology program. So that doesn't have options. Those are fixed courses. And there's two reasons that we set it up that way. That I set it up that way when I developed and launched this program 5 years ago. So one of them is just to make sure that we've got good coverage for the students taking the program, and in working with psychology and what courses from their program could be consistently available every year for students in this program. But the other reason is I think having all students in that program in the same classes together throughout the whole year is just a really good experience for them. You've got students coming in with backgrounds in philosophy and others with backgrounds in psychology. And so as you can imagine, the philosophy students haven't had formal psychology training, and the psychology students haven't had formal philosophy training. So they feel a little bit nervous about taking a course in the other discipline. And I guessed, and the guess has more or less turned out to be right, that a good way to assist with that is to get all those students in the same classes together all the time, all year. And what we find is the psychology students help the philosophy students a lot in their psychology assignments, and vice versa. So they're in classes together, they're working on assignments together, and they just bring each other's expertise to bear on the relevant assignments, and they just end up kind of scaffolding each other into, I think, really good research outputs. If you're looking for more flexibility, though, Lucia, then you look to the MSc Philosophy program. So that one has the research methods and 2 options courses per semester. And there's generally 3 to 4 courses each semester to choose from. So there's a bit of choice there. Daniel asks, can you ask a bit more about the psychology side of the mind and psych? Yeah, so for the non-conversion mind and psychology, in first semester, you take a social robotics course. So that's the side of AI having to do with robotics and in a social context. So not robotics like how to do logistics in factories and how to pick up boxes and move stuff, but robotics in the sense of robots being built to interact with people. And in the second semester, you take a course called Advanced Perception and Cognition, taught by a perceptual psychologist, and then also a course called Research Methods in Cognitive Science. And if you have a psychology background, then as I mentioned, your dissertation would be in psychology, and that would start in October-ish and go throughout the year. I'm happy to say more, Daniel, if you like. Max Mole, do you pick either a philosophical topic or a psychological topic for the conversion? So for the mind and psychology conversion, the dissertation is in philosophy. I should say, Max, of course, you can choose a psychological topic, but you wouldn't be doing a psychology dissertation. So if you were on earlier, I quickly described what's involved in a psychology dissertation, and that's designing an experiment, going through ethics review, recruiting participants, running the experiment, analyzing the data, drafting your report. So all of those steps just take a lot of time, and it's just a different skill set from a philosophical project. So the mind and psychology conversion, you will be doing a philosophy thesis on a philosophy with analytic philosophy methodology. But your topic can be on any number of things. And it should be a topic in philosophy of mind, and most topics of philosophy of mind intersect with psychology in a bunch of ways. So a lot of the research happening in philosophy of mind right now is deeply influenced by research that's happening with psychology, and intersects with it in a number of ways. So I had a meeting just an hour ago with one of our current master's students, and she's working on her term paper for my course in philosophy of mind this semester. And hers is on embodiment, perceptions of embodiment in virtual reality. So you can have an avatar within a VR scenario, and if things line up right, you can start to identify with that avatar. So you can experience it as your body or an extension of your body in some way. So she's looking at theories of embodiment, many of which have been developed and tested empirically in psychology, and studies of embodiment illusion that have happened in psychology. And very little of that has been applied to VR. So she's looking at ways that might be applied to VR in the future. Just to take one example. Well, I understand they're going to be closing the session off soon. It's been a lot of fun answering your questions. I'm happy to answer more, so you can drop me an email if you want to know other things. And if you haven't applied yet, do apply. And if you have, I think I've gotten to all the applications but one. So hopefully you've heard back, and hopefully you've been accepted or conditionally accepted, and hopefully you're going to accept, and we'll see you here in the fall. It's a lot of fun. As I said, the programs have grown a lot in the last 5 years, and there's just a lot of activities happening every day of the week. So students are about, and they're hanging out and talking about what they're working on, and debating about things that they heard in talks, and meeting up in cafes and going out to pubs. It's just, I think, a really good, positive community environment that we've got here for our master's students. And I hope to see you there.